Hello, this is BiomedRx Radio. I am your host, Devin Lockett. This is a high-tech, holistic healthcare show that airs weekly here on AM 590 and AM 590theanswer.com. This week, we are interviewing Ms. Marcia Hinds, respected autism authority and author of the book, I Know You're In There, which is about her struggles with her son's diagnosis on the autism spectrum. Hi, Marcia. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I saw your book, and I had a chance to read some of it. It's only been a couple of days, so I have to actually dig into it. I intend to do that this week. But what I saw was very interesting. Why did you write I Know You're In There?
Well, when my son was first diagnosed at age 4, I was told there was nothing I could do. He'd never get better, and kids don't recover from autism. And
I know the feeling.
That is not right.
Mm-hmm.
They say there's no recovery, there's no cure, there's no hope, but there really is. Because autism, is really, I almost wish we'd stop calling it autism and instead call it what it really is, a messed up immune system. And if we stop calling it autism and called it a neuroimmune issue, then more kids would get the medical treatment they need. Now, my son is now recovered. He's an aerospace engineer.
Wow.
I was told that he would need to be institutionalized. But more important than that is he is now leading a typical life and is happy. And what I wanted most for him actually happened. He has friends and is doing all the things the experts said he would never do.
Now, what did Ryan's autism look like? And when did you first realize that there was a problem?
Well, it's kind of weird because I think we all start the same way. We're kind of in denial. We want it to be anything else. We want our kids to be okay. And because of that, we kind of do strange things. I noticed that Ryan could operate any piece of equipment in my house. He could operate the VCR. He could unlock all the doors, even the one where the lock was broken that I couldn't open. I could tell he was brilliant. But at the same time, he didn't talk. He didn't, he didn't cry. He screamed. He didn't, he'd have meltdowns at every change in routine because he wanted everything to remain the same. And that was really difficult.
How old was he at this time?
I think it started at birth. My husband and I have different remembrances of this. He thinks it happened later, after, some of his vaccines and things like that, and that he had regressive autism because
with my son, I can tell you, with my son, it was vaccines. I can mark the calendar on the date, of the particular vaccine.
Well,
MMR.
and I didn't even realize that Ryan had his first vaccine when he was 2 days old.
Wow.
In the hospital, that they gave him the HIT vaccine, which really is crazy because that's for a sexually transmitted disease.
Wow.
Why would you give a 2-day-old baby?
It's so unnecessary.
It is so unnecessary, and I understand the reasoning. It's because if they go through the birth canal and the mother has a disease, the kids can catch it, a sexually transmitted disease. But wouldn't it be much smarter to test the mothers?
It seems like it, especially since for the 9 months preceding, the birth, that this is going to happen,
Right, and, it was really difficult. He never wanted to go anywhere, and once we were there, he never wanted to leave. And, if I would have let him, Ryan would have spent his entire day going from room to room, turning off and on all the lights, locking and unlocking every door. Or he had this stupid little portable radio that had a plug. Mm-hmm. And he would plug it in every outlet in my house over and over again. So
that could be dangerous.
Well, but, I couldn't stop him.
Right. No, I totally understand.
This kid
object fixation and
and
obsession
he had
with a particular activity.
Right. And, he had no apparent fear of death either. I mean, I can't even tell you the number of times I saved that kid before I even knew he had autism. One time we had gone to have a play date at Danny's house. Okay. And when it was time to leave, Ryan got mad. He never wanted anything to change. He didn't want to go before we got there. And then once we were there, of course, he didn't want to leave. Mm-hmm. And, I took him and I put him in the seatbelt and I put him in the car and I was doing about 30 down the street when I heard the click. And I turned around and there was my 3-year-old standing in front of an open sliding door of my minivan, ready to jump out of a moving car so he could get back to Danny's house.
Wow.
Just so things wouldn't change,
Yes.
I reached
terrifying.
I reached across the car and I grabbed his jacket just in time. Mm. And then, of course, I pulled over and did whatever mother would do, gave him hell.
And that's putting it lightly, but of course.
Yes,
I totally
that is
understand.
putting it lightly. I won't go into what I did. I did what mothers aren't supposed to do that day.
Yeah, I understand.
Because he scared me so much.
I understand. It's the kind of thing that can never happen again.
Right.
For those of you just joining us, this is BiomedRx Radio, and I'm your host, Devin Lockett. I'm interviewing Marcia Hinds, the author of I Know You're In There. Marcia is an authority on autism, and we're in the middle of finding out a lot of very interesting things about her experience with her son, Ryan. Please, Marcia, tell me some more about when Ryan was first diagnosed. What did the psychiatrist say?
Well, that was the really hard part. We went in, we had to wait forever to get an appointment with the psychiatrist who supposedly was the leading authority where we lived at the time, which was the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And, we walked into the office ready to get some answers, and help for our child. And what happened was she said that if we were really lucky, Ryan might end up running a computer in the basement of some company where he wouldn't have to deal with people. And she gave him a life sentence, and she said he would never be okay. And on that particular day, she ripped away every dream we had for our child.
Yes.
When she said there was no recovery, there was no cure, and there was no hope. And she finished us off by saying most of these kids end up in a group home or jail. And without any discussion, my husband and I knew we would never be going back there. But, she really did me a favor that day because she made me so angry that whenever I had nothing left to give Ryan, because I would work with Ryan all day. I would work with him all day, and then all night I would be reading about how to help him. Now, you have to remember this was before the Internet.
Yes.
Ryan's now 29 years old, and finding information was really difficult. So I would go to the library and I would read all night, and my husband would yell at me, you can't do this all day and stay up all night. And I'd look at him, and then my poor husband would get it, and I would say to him, I have to. If I don't do it, who's going to do it?
Exactly.
And so that's how it started, and it was very, very difficult. I mean, how difficult it is.
Absolutely. It's a battle, and it's really an ongoing thing until you actually see the light, until you actually see some real recovery.
Right, and that's what I always tell the parents I help. Which, by the way, my website is www.autism. And the word and treatment.com. And there's a lot of information there for people
that's
to help them with their children.
autismandtreatment.com. Okay, go
right. And they can preview the book there to see if it's something that or they can preview it on Amazon. You can read the first 4 chapters there to see if it's something that you think will help you. And I don't make a dime off of this. I don't want to. I think this is too hard, and I don't want every profit from my book goes to autism causes. And a lot of it goes to Autism One, which is the largest conference in the nation on autism, where doctors from all over the world come to speak. And I will be speaking there again this year.
Wonderful. Now, if there is there a cure for autism, or has Ryan been fully recovered as from your understanding?
Well, I call Ryan recovered because he still needs to take certain medications to keep his immune system working properly. Okay, and that's the really hard part, because finding a doctor who understands this is really difficult. And anybody can email me, and I have lists of doctors from all over the country that I collect from parents that treat kids with autism. And, to be honest, I don't have personal experience with a lot of them, but they have been given to me by the parents who have read my book and who know, the way I think about autism.
Yes. Now, we're coming up on the first half of our show, so I just wanted to get this out. Happening right now outside of the BiomedRx Health Center is Holistic Health Sundays, a weekly holistic health gathering that occurs, a fair actually, that occurs every Sunday from noon to 4 p.m. in front of the BiomedRx Health Center at 916 North Mountain Avenue, Suite D1, Upland, California, 91786. This is at the southeast corner of Foothill Boulevard and Mountain Avenue in the city of Upland. You can also call us at 909-608-2880. That's 909-608-2880. We'll be back with more of Marcia Hinds after these messages. Hello, I'm Devin Lockett, owner of BiomedRx Health Center. Have traditional therapies for chronic conditions such as headaches, migraines, ADD, ADHD, anxiety, depression, or many others failed you? Have you or a family member struggled with addictions? Are you an athlete striving for peak performance? BiomedRx Health Center provides holistic and alternative therapies using a unique protocol of neurofeedback and biomagnetism to help those struggling with issues that traditional medicine have been inadequate in providing optimal results. Neurofeedback prepares the brain for peak performance and athletic achievement. Biomagnetic pair therapy helps restore the body to a state of balance that empowers the body's own immune system to defend against illnesses. We at BiomedRx Health Center invite you to experience the unique combination of therapies and training available. For more information and a free consultation, call us at 909-608-2880. That's 909-608-2880. Tune in every Sunday at noon to BiomedRx Radio to learn how we can help in bringing you relief with high-tech, holistic healthcare solutions.
AM 590, The Answer.
We're back with BiomedRx Radio. I'm your host, Devin Lockett. We're interviewing Marcia Hinds, the author of I Know You're In There. Marcia is a respected autism authority, and she's just in the middle of telling us a very interesting story about how her son was cured of autism.
I have to correct you. He's not cured. He's recovered.
He's recovered.
He is totally, you would not ever know he had autism. But he still needs to take medications to keep his immune system working properly. And some of the medications that have really helped him were antivirals and antifungals. They were life-changing for Ryan. And we treated hidden infections and viruses. And, by taking the stress off of Ryan's immune system, he was able to learn what he couldn't before. And that's the good news. Autism is medical and treatable. The common mistake made by most doctors and most people is they think this is not even possible, that our kids can't get better. And that's what we have to change because they can. To me, autism is just a word that we use to define a collection of symptoms that look different.
Exactly, a collection.
Yes, they look different in every kid. And
so it makes it really hard to find a cure because you're really treating a number of things.
Yes, you are, and it's multiple things. And sometimes even small little things can have a big impact, okay? Like for me, we changed to a laundry detergent that was free and clear of dyes. So we used all okay? Laundry detergent free and clear. And there's lots of laundry detergents that are, don't have any of the additives. And that's such a simple thing to do.
You found that the dyes actually exacerbated the
I
conditions
don't know.
of autism?
I don't know. But, anything that I could do that would take the stress off of his immune system, that was easy to do, I did.
Yes.
There was one time we moved from one house into another house. And our first house had hardwood floors in all the bedrooms. And, that's supposedly cleaner and better than carpet. Well, the new house had carpet in all the bedrooms. And when I checked into it, it was going to be like $9,000 to switch the bedrooms to hardwood. So being the practical woman that I am, I said, oh, well, we'll just wait and see how he does in the new house.
Right, right.
And he actually did better in the new house because it was a house that had a newer ventilation system, okay? And by being in that house, the air was much cleaner because the heating system worked so much better. Another thing I always did was in Minnesota, you use the heat a lot, okay? Not so much in California where we live now. But I used to change the heating vents, the filters for the heater every month. That was an easy thing I could do. That wasn't very expensive.
No.
And I don't know if it helped him. Who knows? You just want to do as many things as you can to take the stress off of their system.
Off their immune system. Now, in the book, you said that multiple interventions are needed to help the kids recover. Why is that? And what interventions did you use?
Well, we mostly did medical things. We treated the hidden viruses and the infections. He's still on antivirals and antifungal medications. And the one thing that a lot of doctors don't understand is that after about a year, these medications, the kids build up a tolerance to them, okay? And at that point, they have to be switched, So for antifungals, for Ryan, and this is only for Ryan, not other kids, we used to switch between diflucan and Nizoral, okay? So we'd be on Nizoral for a year, and when I noticed him, the yeast starting to be out of control again and him acting weird because, when a kid has an overgrowth of yeast in their body, they sometimes act silly and they act, they'll laugh uncontrollably and they have trouble, being typical. And you can't teach them, what they need to know. And it wasn't until we actually treated the candida and the overgrowth of yeast in his body that I was able to teach Ryan what he needed to know. And doing the medical alone was not enough. When Ryan was little, he used to bite and squeeze his sister until she cried. And she used to say to me, Mom, can I hit him? And I'd say, Megan, when he's better, you can hit him. It's okay, but not right now. And it's kind of funny because, now she's 33 and he's 29. And when he ticks her off, she just hauls off and slugs him, and then they both start laughing because, it's back to those old days when she felt, she couldn't do anything.
Was that a milestone for you when you noticed that he was back to good social interaction with his sister again?
Well, it wasn't that fast.
It wasn't, huh?
It was a very long process. And, I say that the medical makes it only possible for them to learn. You still have to use something like ABA or floor time or, RDI. All the programs work once their bodies are working, okay? But, until that happens, until you get them medically where they need to be, none of the programs worked with Ryan. For some kids, just changing diet, just eliminating dairy is enough to get them so that they can learn. There was a big change in Ryan when we got rid of dairy. There really was. And the person who helped me most with that was Dr. Rimlin from the Autism Research Institute. I called there one day and asked for his help. Well, I didn't ask for his help. I just called there because I had a question. As a matter of fact, I was too stupid to know who he was at the time, and I should have been impressed because he answered the phone himself, but I wasn't because I just thought he was this nice guy who answered the phone. So as I'm talking to Dr. Rimlin, he said to me, we have that instant connection that you have when you're fighting the same war and the same demons, because his son Mark had autism. And he said to me, well, have you ever does Ryan drink a lot of milk, and eat a lot of cheese and do a lot of dairy? And I said, well, pretty much morning till night, and he said,
Casey.
Have you ever tried eliminating that? And I said, no. And to be honest, I thought he was a little crazy. What could a cow have to do with autism? That just sounded nuts to me. And, because I was desperate and because he was nice, he said, well, why don't you try eliminating dairy for a week and then give him a glass of milk and see what happens? Well, I never gave him that glass of milk. Now, if he would have said to me, put him on a non-dairy diet, I probably wouldn't have done it, because I was the kind of mom who gave my kids Fun Fruits for breakfast. I wasn't really into nutrition and all that stuff.
Well, we just grew up thinking, hey, children need milk. It was
right, and milk's good for everybody.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly. For those of you just joining us, this is BiomedRx Radio with Devin Lockett. I'm your host. We're interviewing Miss Marcia Hinds, respected autism authority and author of the book, I Know You're In There. Now, Marcia, did you employ any of the other typical therapies like chelation or hyperbaric oxygen therapy or anything
We
like
never
this?
did those things. And some of those things scare me a little, because the doctor who helped us the most didn't believe in them. But what the important part is that autism is not the cause of the medical conditions our kids suffer from. It's actually the other way around. And doctors who know how to treat it understand that once the body works, the brain follows. But even if we had a magic wand and could instantly correct all of our kids' medical issues, they still wouldn't act typical. We still need to catch them up on all they missed once learning becomes possible. And we have to eliminate the inappropriate behaviors that have become ingrained habits. So, that's a really important piece. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. There aren't any magic bullets. It's difficult to do. It is
a constant effort, and I really want to thank you for bringing light to that behavioral aspect of it, because it is, that is something that we also have to stay on. In addition to the biomedical approaches that people might be taking, that you have to make your child aware, cognitively aware of what they're doing, and help them through. To a place where they can be more comfortable with themselves.
Well, it's really hard for parents too, because I have to tell you, I looked for that magic bullet. I looked for it everywhere. I thought there was going to be a simple solution, and I went from doctor to doctor to doctor looking for that. And this can cost us a fortune. And if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Okay, so everything is in my book that parents need to know to help their kids, okay? But more important than that is, if they have any trouble or if they need extra help, they can always call me or email me, and I will help them find doctors in their area and people who actually know what to do.
Yes. We found that neurofeedback was very effective for my son, and this is what led me to what is now the BiomedRx Health Center, but led me to branch off the BiomedRx corporation into providing health.
Terrific. Well, parenting by the regular rules doesn't really apply when you have a kid with autism.
No, it doesn't.
And part of me believed my relatives when they said it was my parenting that was the cause of all of Ryan's issues. Sometimes I thought they might be right. And that's why I always tell my mommies and daddies to repeat this phrase over and over again. Autism is not my fault.
No, this is true.
You have to say it over and over again until you actually believe it. Because, my husband, I used to think, it's his fault. Look how weird his family is, and he'd think it was my fault,
Oh, yes. Now, Marcia, I would like you to have an opportunity. We're coming up on the end of our show, to tell us your website again for my listeners.
The website is www.autism, the word and treatment.com. And there's a lot of information there to help parents and to help doctors as well. We need everybody on board. And I hope one day I can make this book into a movie so I can retire, because everybody will know that this is medical and treatable if that ever happens.
I hope so too. This is great. Thank you very much for coming on our show, Marcia. I really appreciate it. It's been a wonderful having you. And I do recommend my listeners buy a copy of I Know You're In There. And that brings us to the end of our show. Be healthy, be happy, and I'll talk to you next Sunday. Thank you.